Reckoning of Caleb Dusk by Reuben White. The lull, the rhythm, the rupture. He rode in with nothing but a brand on his wrist and God's own fury in his chest. He rode out with a cattle empire, a sheriff's badge, and 17 enemies who couldn't figure out which one to use to kill him first. Caleb Dusk owns the Blackstone Range. Every blade of grass, every creek bend, every canyon wall that catches the New Mexico sun and turns it copper. He owns it the way a man owns something he bled for, not with paper, but with marrow. The paper came later. 47 signatures, 3 county judges, 1 territorial governor who shook his hand and smiled with all his teeth and none of his heart. The paper is legal. The man is the problem. He don't sell. He don't beg. He don't run. They call him the devil's vaquero in Cimarron. They call him the black ghost of the Sangre de Cristos when they think he can't hear. They call him Mister when they want something and boy when they think they got the numbers. Tonight they got the numbers. 17 guns, 3 torches, 1 rope that somebody's daddy probably used for something similar in Georgia. 1853, before a different war tried to make a different world and mostly failed. Caleb Dusk sits at his oak table, the one he built himself from timber he dragged down the mountain alone, in December, in snow that wanted him dead, and he cleans his Winchester rifle with the slow, deliberate patience of a man who has nowhere to be and everywhere to be simultaneously. He's writing in his journal, to whoever finds this body or finds this truth, whichever arrives first. This ain't a suicide note. This is a declaration. The ranch hands left by sundown. He told them to. Big Earl cried. Isaiah argued. Consuela pressed a rosary into his palm and said, Dios te itzueda. Senor Dusk, God watches over you. And he kissed her forehead like she was his own abuela and said he was counting on it. The torches are getting closer. He can see them through the window. 17 orange prayers to a god of cowardice, moving across his land like a sickness that thinks it's a cure. Jedediah Harrow leads them. Of course he does. Harrow, with his silver cattleman's hat and his Confederate belt buckle and his 4 failed attempts to buy the Blackstone Range for 20 cents of its worth. Harrow, who went to the territorial governor and was told, politely, legally, irrevocably, that land belongs to Caleb Dusk Jedediah. Fair and square. Fair and square. 2 words that have never once sat comfortable in Jedediah Harrow's stomach. 1 bullet. 1 man. 1 plan that don't end how they think it ends. Caleb checks the rifle. Full. He checks the Colt on his hip. Full. He checks the Derringer in his boot. 1 bullet. He checks the saddlebag by the back door. Packed. He checks the tunnel entrance beneath the kitchen rug. The one he dug himself over 18 months with a hand spade and God's own stubbornness. And it is open, waiting, exhaling cool earth breath like a living thing. He checks the envelope on the table. New York Tribune, Chicago Defender, Kansas City Journal. 3 copies of the same letter, already addressed, already sealed with red wax pressed by his own thumb. The letter contains the deed, a sworn affidavit from the territorial governor. The names, every name, of every man walking toward his house tonight with a torch and a rope and the ancient, desperate arrogance of men who need someone else's destruction to feel like their own construction. He will not be here when they arrive at the table, but the letter will, and the letter will ride, faster than any horse, louder than any gunshot, further than any fire, straight into the consciousness of a nation that is still, slowly, agonizingly, deciding what it wants to be. His death, if it comes, will come on his terms, in his time, wearing his boots. Not tonight. Tonight, Caleb Dusk intends to disappear so completely that Jedediah Harrow will spend the rest of his life looking over his shoulder for a ghost that's actually still breathing. He closes the journal. He blows out the lamp. The knock comes. Not pounding. Not the frantic hammering of 17 men with torches. 1 knock. Soft. Deliberate. The kind of knock that knows it will be answered. Caleb's hand finds the Colt. He moves to the door in darkness. Every board memorized. Every creak anticipated and avoided. He stands to the side. He says nothing. He waits. The knock comes again. Same softness. Same certainty. And then a voice that splits him open like lightning splits an oak. Clean. Total. Rearranging everything. Caleb. Baby, it's time to go. He knows that voice. He buried that voice 3 years ago in the red clay behind this very house. He carved the name himself into a piece of ironwood that he sealed with his own tears because there was no one left to witness them. Rosanna Dusk, beloved, fearless, the reason. He opens the door. She stands in the moonlight like she was always standing there, and he just forgot to look. She is wearing the blue dress, the one she wore when they stood before the circuit preacher in 71 and said words that were supposed to outlast everything. Her eyes are steady, her hands are steady, and in her arms, wrapped in a flour sack blanket, sleeping with the absolute authority of the innocent. The child, his child, the one that died with her, the one he buried beside her, the one he has spoken to every night through 6 feet of Montana earth, and the thin membrane between what is and what cannot be. The child breathes. The child breathes. Behind him, 17 torches crest the ridge. Before him, a dead woman holds a living miracle and says his name like a compass finding north. Caleb Dusk, the devil's vaquero, the black ghost, the man who has never once in his life not known his next move, does not move. The torchlight reaches the porch. The child opens its eyes, and they are his. To be continued in The Second Reckoning of Caleb Dusk. Copyright Reuben, a Luminous Fracture original work. The lull is what you know. The rhythm is what you survive. The rupture is what changes everything.